Now, Paul, one other topic I want to talk about is, what does an actuary do? So, as we know, IRS requires a certified actuary to actually be a part of these plans and sign off on the calculations each and every year. So, can we just talk about, what an actuary does and, where they come into play with these plans?
Yeah, absolutely. I know we've talked a little bit about why these plans are, more expensive because of the actuary. Obviously, there's a lot more complexity to these plans, but really, if you want to get the very large annual tax deductible contributions, you've got to go down the defined benefit plan route. And like most people know, a cash balance plan is a type of defined benefit plan. So it still requires an actuary. Excuse me. So both plans, defined benefit plan and a cash balance plan, require an actuary. That's where there's more administration and higher fees.
Mhm.
So an actuary is going to provide two main deliverables. They're going to deliver what's called an actuarial valuation, which is going to have a lot of reports in it that's going to talk about funding requirements and things like that. And when you've got a cash balance plan structure, it's also going to do the participant account statements. So participants can see exactly what's in the account and what's allocated to them and so forth. So, that's one of the big reports. That's a pretty lengthy reports and there's a lot of subschedules to it, okay? But probably the most important deliverable that they're going to do, and this is what's required by IRS rules, is that they're going to deliver a form a Schedule SB, okay? And this, if you've got a group plan, has to be attached to the 5,500. If you've got a solo plan, does not have to be attached, but you need to maintain it in your records. The Schedule SB, what does that actually do? Well, the Schedule SB is where the actuary actually certifies and signs their name to the plan, where they are certifying that the client met the minimum required contribution to the plan, okay? The IRS gets very concerned that they don't like plans that are underfunded, right? They want to make sure that employees are going to get the amount that they're able to get at retirement. As you're aware, Zach, there's a lot of government plans that are underfunded, city, state, local governments, and the IRS does not want to see this in the private sector. Obviously, they don't want to see companies go under and the IRS or the PBGC be specifically on the hook to cover the pension benefits for the employees. So they're very concerned about underfunding and making sure there's minimum contributions. So that's what the actuary signs off, is that the minimum contributions are made and they certify to that. So that's a very important part of the process. Those SBs are very complex, very difficult to read, but obviously we provide them to all of our clients, that certification. It's an important part of the process. And obviously that's where a lot of the cost and the complexities are. But again, to summarize, the actuary is a very important part of these plans. It's required by the IRS. You can't just go out and set up your own plan and just start making contributions to it. You've got to have the actuary. And, that's what Empyrean does as a third-party administrator to these plans.
Yeah, absolutely. And I found it kind of interesting in the past where I've actually spoken to some people who have set up plans with another administrator or another actuary. So they've requested for us to take over the plan. And sometimes our actuaries will just review a plan and not even take it over just because of compliance issues or underfunding issues or overfunding issues. So I found it interesting that you could have two different actuaries, review the same plan, and there could be some differences in the way the calculations are driven or what the contribution amounts are given.
Yeah, I agree. I think more often you'll see that there's different plan designs. So certain actuaries or administrators might design plans in a specific way, and other actuaries might want to design them in a more conservative way.
Right.
We see plans where actuaries and things might be overly aggressive that maybe our actuaries aren't as comfortable with that. Doesn't mean to say the plans are wrong, but you think of these as being very sort of black and white and cut and dry issues, but there's gray areas to everything. Actuaries are human beings, so they make mistakes and they do things differently, based on their backgrounds or whatnot. So you're absolutely correct. When we take over a plan, we don't do a ton of takeovers, but when we do, we want to make sure actuary reviews it. And a lot of times what we'll do is we'll amend and restate the plan to be more in line with what our actuaries want to see, or maybe guidance that we're going to give the clients going forward. So absolutely, actuaries are a little different, and you want to make sure you review those SBs to make sure they're consistent with your understanding of the overall plan design.
Yeah, absolutely. Perfect summary.